Hello, everybody. Welcome to Water Wednesdays. Usually we cover a true crime case or a case of the FBI Most Wanted. Today we're actually going to be covering something that's a little bit out of pattern of what I wanted to do. But I'll get into it a little bit. I hope you guys have your cup of water. Technically it can be anything, I don't really care. I just did the Water Wednesdays because I drink water constantly, and I thought it would be kind of cool to match that with my name of my YouTube channel. If you guys are joining from my TikTok live, I am making a YouTube video. This will be up as of 7 p.m. tonight, as per usual. Sometimes there's always something that I mess up on the posting of my YouTube video. Most of the time I do try getting it in at 7 p.m. On the day I film it. And I also wanted to bring something up. You guys may have noticed that I didn't post last Wednesday. I'm kind of just gonna do it, as many of you guys probably know who follow me, Bailey Sarian. She does it 3 times a week, or 3 times a month. And I feel like that would probably be best for me as well. I tried doing the once a month or the every week type thing, and it's just so draining. It's so tough. Like, it's just a lot of work. And I have a baby. I'm also working now as well on top of having the baby. And I have a lot of stuff going on in my life right now. So I just I think the 3 times a month will be enough, and it will still be true crime, FBI Most Wanted, and then another true crime, back to the same pattern. But today I kind of wanted to go a little bit out of the pattern and do the case on the toy box killer, and that's only because, so I live in Montana, as many of my TikTok followers know. My YouTube actually doesn't know that, but I do live in Montana, and it has recently become brought to my attention that the toy box killer's wife, who was also participating in the murders and the torture, moved to Hamilton, Montana. And that's literally right around my little area in life. And I figured that I kind of wanted to cover this case with that brought to my attention. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be covering the toy box killer. I like to say toy box killers because there was more than one person involved in this. It wasn't just one person, and then his wife was like, I had no fucking idea that this was happening. Nah, she participated in it, and that's a little iffy. So if you guys are new to my channel, please subscribe, like, and comment. It really, really helps me out. I am really trying to get one more subscriber. I am at 19 subscribers, and I've been at 19 subscribers for a couple weeks now. And a lot of people on my TikTok know I have a lot of mental health issues, and being at an uneven number is driving me bonkers. If you guys could go subscribe to my channel, that would make my day. So we're gonna kind of just dive right into this. And you guys know me, I'm a hot mess, so if I am pronouncing anything wrong, please don't come for me in the comments. I have a speech impediment, you guys know that. And a huge trigger warning, before we actually dive into this case. It's a really, really messed up case. If you guys haven't watched Bailey Sarian at all, she has covered this case a while back. This case is extremely graphic. I'm gonna try doing the PG-13 version as much as I can PG it up. That's what I'm gonna go for. There is a ton of sexual violence in this. There's torture, there's gore, there's going to probably be bestiality. So if any of that triggers you, please click out. I know I have a few FBI Most Wanted videos on my channel. Go watch those. I very much PG those as well, so that I can have other content on my channel that isn't as graphic as the true crime stuff that I put out. Again, we are not doing this to give credit to the killers. We're trying to give credit and voice to the victims that were lost in this situation, and as per usual, we will be doing a 1-minute moment of silence to remember those victims that we have lost from these monsters. As much as I hate that there's so much more information about the perpetrators and not enough of the victims. I do try to give a voice and a face to those victims more than the victims, or more than the perpetrators. As you guys probably know very well in my videos, I try really hard to do that. I find it a little bit toxic that the amount of people who will give a voice to the perpetrators over the victims, it's actually crazy to me. So without that out there, I kind of want to just start. I did have a question from one of my viewers, and I kind of wanted to explain something first. I'm sorry this intro is so long. I'm normally not this long, but you know me, I'm a rambler. I wanted to talk about my name. I had a friend who watches my videos, and she was like, what's the Water Wednesday name? It's not that deep, I promise you. I literally drink water 24/7. It's a very rare occasion where I am not drinking water, and I usually have a Coke if I'm not drinking water. And I noticed that in all of my videos I had a glass of water with me, and I thought it would be kind of cool to incorporate that into my content. Now, my main goal, and it's super funny because I joke about this with my husband all the time, my main goal in life right now is to reach 1,000 subscribers and to get sponsored. But like, not like a normal sponsorship. It's a joke, okay? It's one of my inside jokes with my family, but I'm gonna let you guys in on it because you guys are following me. I want to be sponsored by a water company so bad. So I constantly talk about that with my husband. I'd be like, wouldn't it be so weird if like a water company be like, hey, we see that your name is Water Wednesday, we should totally sponsor you. I would totally be down for that. So if any water companies out there. Okay, so with that out there, we're gonna kind of get back into seriousness. So we're gonna talk about the Toy Box Killers. As you guys know, there was more than one, so it's not gonna be Toy Box Killer, it's gonna be called The Killers. We are going to be talking about David Parker Ray and his wife, and we'll kind of get into her name a little bit more. I'm sure I can just look it up, but it's not really in my notes at the top, so I don't really remember her name. That's how little I care about these people. So David Parker Ray, we're just going to call him Mr. Ray. That kind of just erases that, giving him a little bit less credit. So Mr. Ray and his younger sister Peggy lived with their disciplinary grandfather. And I think with that, and I'm gonna kind of just say this out there, and I know I'm gonna get a little bit of hate for it. In parenting, there's different terms for different things. There's aggressive parenting, reactive parenting, disciplinary parenting, there's gentle parenting, and then there's non-parenting. Disciplinary parenting is when you automatically go to spanking. Whether that be you're sitting there and your kid pulls down something because, God forbid kids get into shit and be kids, they'll jump into it and they'll spank their kid. Or for this one, it was more violent. It was more along the lines of literal child abuse. But to be fair, this was a different time frame. This was in the 30s. So he was born in 1939. So to be fair, it was a different time back then. Back then, kids picked out their own willow branches and got whipped with it. But he was very violent, but it was very sporadic. So Mr. Ray was very much on edge constantly. And if you guys notice anything about serial killers, they always have childhood trauma that has gone along with it. He was very much abused as a child by his grandfather. He had very sporadic visits by his alcoholic father, and his father was supplying him with these very, very masochistic pornography pictures and magazines and stuff like that at such a young age that he was already exposed to a very torturistic sexual environment. Like I said, this is probably like second, third grade when he started to get those. He went to high school in New Mexico, and I'm not going to expose that high school, just for my own personal, thing. I don't want to get that out there and give that school a bad name just because he went there. I know that there's a lot of people out there who do that type of stuff, so we're not going to put that out there. He was very much bullied by peers because he was very shy around girls. He had a lot of sexual fantasies at that age of raping, of torturing, and even murdering women at probably his freshman year. He started to draw it, he started to imagine it, and he, that's probably why, admittedly, it's probably why he was shy around females, because he was sitting there like, I'm gonna kill you. Right? I'm gonna imagine you, so I'm not gonna talk to you because I'm over here imagining it. I'm more focused on this than actually having a full-blown conversation with you, if you guys know what I mean. But his sister ended up discovering his drawings, and they're, like, sadistic. The term I have in here is sadistic, I don't know. Words and I don't, just sadistic. We're gonna go with that. Sadistic drawings of pornographic content. So they were girls that he's been around, hangs out with at school, sees them around at school. They're literally pictures of these females being tortured sexually. So that's fun. After completing high school, Ray received an honorable discharge from the Army. His work included general mechanics, which, a little shout out to that. My husband's a mechanic, and that is one of the hardest jobs that I personally know of. That, I'm not a mechanic. I don't know work. Cars and I do not mix. I literally know how to fill up my oil tank. Now, I learned that this year. But yeah, so that's kind of where he was along those lines. He has been divorced 4 different times, which that is crazy to me. I'm working on my first marriage, and I really don't plan on divorcing, although I don't really think anybody really plans on divorcing their husbands and wives. It kind of just happens. But there was 2 children. I'm sorry. There was 2 children involved in the marriage, and actually, surprisingly, one of them was his daughter, and her name is Miss Ray. We're gonna call her Miss Ray. Just because there's gonna be, I'm gonna say Miss, Mrs., and Mr. Like I said, we're not gonna give as much credit to the serial killers as we're gonna give to the victims. So Miss Ray was an accomplice, which, in this term, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I just think it's I haven't even gotten into the case, and I'm already so angry about all of this. So we're gonna get kind of into the crimes, and I'm gonna push that trigger warning out real lickety-split. We've already kind of covered it. Sexual torture is very much going to be talked about in this. We already kind of got into it, but we're not gonna, I'm gonna just point that out there again. Mr. Ray sexually tortured and presumably killed his victims using whips, chains, pulleys, straps, clamps, leg spreader bars, surgical blades, electric shock machines, and saws. It's a long list. And it gets worse. It is thought that he has terrorized many women with these types of tools for many, many years with the help of his accomplices, his wife, and his daughter. Some of whom who have been several women that he was dating. Inside the torture room, along with numerous sex toys, torture implements, syringes, detailed diagrams showing ways of inflicting pain. Now, I'm gonna stop here real freaking fast, okay? I know, okay? I know that there's some people out there who are into this type of stuff, and they do it consensually through the BDSM community. Now, everything I am saying right now does not refer to anyone in the BDSM community. I am not shaming anyone for their kinks, likes, dislikes, or anything like that. We are just talking about this case. I would really hope that we can all be kind of adults in this situation and not shame me for talking about this type of stuff with horrible disgust. It's not the fact that they're doing it, it's the fact that they killed women in this way. Okay. Getting that out there. Cool. Got that down. Okay. They had a homemade electric generator, which was used for torture. They had a mirror mounted on the ceiling so that all of their victims could watch themselves die. They used a medical table, which he strapped his victims to. I'm sorry. We're gonna pause for a second. Alright, guys. Sorry about that. We have a guest with us today. Little Miss decided to not take her nap. Alright. I'm gonna get back into that. Okay. Like I said, just horrific torture. Trigger warning, bestiality. Like I said, he would strap his victims down onto the medical table and, immobilize them. And he would have his dogs, and sometimes friends, rape them. He said he wanted his victims to see everything he was doing to them. He often recorded it, and played it for his victims whenever they regained consciousness. So, that's a lot. We're gonna... Yeah. No. Just... Oh, horrible. I wish you would take it out. Yeah. Hey, can I have that, please? Please? Thank you so much. Okay, I'm back. Our guest speaker just decided to actually take a nap for once. Sort of. She's playing in her crib. Okay. Back to it. Gets worse. It gets worse! And so, like I said, they used everything. Every form of torture that you can think of, they used it. They let their dogs, they let their friends kind of just have their way with their victims. But I think it's kind of funny, how he was caught. So, Mr. Ray posed as an undercover cop and approached the victim, Cynthia, I'm going to look up her last name because I am not 100% sure if I'm going to pronounce it right. And like I have said multiple times in this video, we want to respect the victims, not so much the perpetrators. Okay, look, I got it now. Vigil. Okay, I thought I was right. I just didn't want to say it wrong. Okay, Cynthia Vigil in a parking lot. He approached her as an undercover police officer, and he told her that she was under arrest for solicitation of prostitution. He handcuffed her, and he put her in his trailer and took her to Elephant Butte. After 3 days of captivity, Cynthia escaped from the trailer on March 22nd, 1999. And you know what? Mad fucking respect, because at this point she was probably already tortured. She was probably already so horrifically traumatized, but she still did it. She didn't give up, and she got out, and that is amazingly awesome. That just shows how much strength that this female had in order to escape and deal with all of the trauma. She had to wait for him to go to work and then unlock her own chains. And Mr. Ray's accomplice, Miss Hendy, which is his wife, had left the keys on the nearby table before going into another room to speak to somebody on the telephone. After Cynthia got the keys, Miss Hendy noticed her attempt to escape, and a fight ensued. During the struggle, Miss Hendy broke a lamp on Miss Cynthia Vigil's head. But, and that's such a crazy, so she's literally fighting for her freaking life. She had a lamp broken over her head, and she still unlocked her chains and stabbed this bitch in the neck with a freaking ice pick. Now listen, I want to be friends with this person. That is cool. That is awesome. She fell to the floor, so Miss Hendy fell to the floor, and Cynthia escaped. She fled only wearing an iron slave collar. And if you guys don't really know what that is, I wish I could post, I wish I had the editing software to just put a photo up. But I don't. That's fun. But I'm going to post a link to a video where you guys can actually click on the link in my description of my YouTube video and click on it and see what I'm actually talking about. Because it's everywhere, all over Google if you look it up. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to find the link to what an iron slave collar actually looks like, because you guys, it's solid iron. It's heavy. If you guys have ever seen those movies where they're talking about what happened during the Civil War and what led to the Civil War, they have a lot of depictions of these slaves in these collars with all of these chains connected to all of their other slaves. That's what we're talking about. They're heavy, they're hard to move, they cut into your skin, and I believe that the ones that they used also had spikes pointing to the neck. So if they were to move in any way, it would stab them in the neck next to their main pressure points. I'm pretty sure, do not quote me on that. But, like I said, she left with only that slave collar and padlock chains. She ran down the road to seek help, which she did get from a nearby homeowner who ended up taking her in, calling the police and comforting her. Which, again, mad respect, because on some of these cases, I'm literally like, where was everybody? What the hell? Why wasn't anybody doing, what? The parents were living in the same place and, nobody did shit? Are you kidding me? But this person did. They stepped it up. And this kind of just follows along, if you see something weird in your neighborhood, or in your town, or you hear something weird, report it. I would rather be wrong on a report than not be wrong and not report it and somebody end up dying. Like, I would much rather be wrong than right in those types of situations. But if you were right and they ended up going and searching and they found a victim, then I saved a life. You know, like, that's how I look at that. I would rather be wrong than right, but I would definitely rather be right than not do anything. So if you see something suspicious, always report. I don't give a fuck. It's not snitching. It's literally saving a life. I know a lot of people in my town are like, well, if you call the cops, then you're a snitch. No. If you are calling the cops, you're not a snitch. You are saving a life. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If there's something seriously wrong, that you think there's something seriously wrong, please call. And that requires everything. If you see a kid who's getting, like, if you think that there's a kid abused, call CPS. You know, don't talk about it among friends. Just call CPS. They'll deal with it. They'll do what they need to do. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of miscommunication with a lot of things, especially nowadays, where it's like, if you call somebody, like, you're instantly a snitch. No, you're trying to save somebody. You're trying to protect people. It's called being a decent human being. It's just my opinion. So her escape ended up leading the officials, so the police and everybody, to the trailer, and they ended up capturing all of them. And it's really rough because there was another victim who had actually reported this. So I'm pretty sure it's almost the same thing. It was just more of I want to say rough draft for the perpetrators. They probably did exactly what they did, and they saw that it worked, but they didn't keep them. And she had reported this, but there was no follow-up. So the police literally had this information before Cynthia got kidnapped, before Cynthia got tortured, from Angelica Montano. I don't think I said her name right, but Montano. She had come forward, and she had told a very similar story. But she said that she reported the incidents to the police, and there was nothing. Nothing happened. There was no lead up. There was no follow up. There was no, oh yeah, we found this. Like, oh my god. Like, no, they literally just sat there with that report and didn't do shit. Which, wow. Mr. Ray had a video of another victim called Kelly Garrett. And I'm not going to give her actual name that she has now, even though I have it in my notes. I just feel like that would be, I don't want to give her that name out, especially because I am on TikTok and I am on a very public forum. But like I said, I'm going to post all of my, sources. That's where I'm looking for. I'm going to be posting all my sources in my YouTube video description, as I do with every one of my videos. And it's there. So if you want to click on that, you can read her actual name, but I personally will not be giving out her real name. So Kelly Garrett, which dated from 1996, Miss Kelly Garrett was ultimately found alive in Colorado, which awesome. Police identified a tattoo on her ankle, and she later testified that she had gotten in a really big fight with her husband and decided to spend the night playing pool with her friends. On July 24th, 1996, Ray's daughter, which is how this comes, then this is how they found out that his daughter was also an accomplice, who had known Miss Garrett, took her to the Blue Water Saloon in Truth or Consequence, New Mexico, which, that's a really cool name. Truth or Consequence. Drugged her beer that she was drinking, and Kelly Garrett had walked into the parking lot where she suffered a blow from behind, which knocked her unconscious. Mr. Ray had taken her to his trailer of torture, attached a dog collar and a leash to her neck, and Kelly Garrett awoke but blacked out several times during the 2 days of torture and drugging. During this time, Ray noticed that she was bleeding and slashed her throat open, thinking that he had killed her. But he didn't. And again, all of these victims are so amazing and strong. And if you are just scrolling past my video right now and you have suffered this or you've survived this, I don't know if you guys would be alive. I don't know. This is the 90s, 1996. That's about the time my husband was almost born. But I don't know if you guys are watching this, if you guys hear about this. I just want to say I want to give my love and my support to you guys, and I also want to tell you guys are so inspiring and so strong that you guys have survived this. It is insane that you guys have done this, and just, clearly you guys are living, you guys are doing your life, you're doing your best that you guys can ever do, and I'm so happy for you guys that you guys have overcome this. And to the other victims, what these guys have done and what they have, they destroyed so many families in so many communities, and just there's so much trust issues due to stuff like this. It's just heartbreaking that, in the 90s, kids were able to go walk around without worrying about getting kidnapped. Now I can't even let my daughter outside without me literally making sure that she's okay. It's insane. But her husband believed that she had been cheating on him that night she was attacked, and he ended up suing for divorce, which is so sad. She just went through all of this traumatic experience, and then now she's losing her husband, who's supposed to be her supporter in all of this, and who's supposed to love her and be her person, and he's just like, fuck you, you cheated on me, which never fucking happened. Love that. Kelly Garrett had moved to Arizona. Kelly Garrett moved to Colorado, and she was later interviewed on Cold Case Files about her ordeal, which I believe Cold Case is on Hulu. So if you guys want to watch that, I highly suggest it. And there was other accomplices that were uncovered by the investigation. There was Glenda Jean Jesse, which is his daughter, Denise Yancey, and she admitted to strangling his former girlfriend, which is Marie Parker, after Ray had tortured and kidnapped her. Yancey was convicted of second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, was sentenced to 2 15-year prison terms. So that's a 30-year. If we're gonna combine them, that's 30 years in prison. After that murder, Ray allegedly admitted to having an accomplice named Billy Bowers, a previous business partner whom Ray also murdered. The FBI sent 100 agents, which, guys, that is so fucking crazy. 100 agents. That is 100 people who had CSI. That means there's CSI people. That's crime scene investigators. They're literally fingerprinting their pictures. They're probably poking at the ground to make sure that there's no bodies that were buried on the property. And it's just insane to me that there was a report already made and the police did nothing. And all because of this strong, awesome woman, Cynthia, we now know about this. We have now been brought to our attention, and now there's 100 FBI agents looking at this and looking at the surroundings. And, as sad as that there was no human remains ever found, but that, Jesus, criminating, that's a lot of things. A lot of people. And I think I've saw in a few pictures, their property wasn't all that big. I mean, I know it was pretty big for back then, and it's definitely way bigger than for now, but we live on an acre, and I believe that that's how much they lived on, which is not all that much. When I was a kid, I lived on 5 acres, and that was a lot of property. But it didn't even look like that much. But we're gonna kind of get back into it. To prevent women from reporting the crimes, Mr. Ray drugged them with agents to induce memory loss. So he would literally say in a recording, which is ultimately probably what ended up happening. They probably found all these recordings, because I know that my Gen Z viewers will definitely not know what this means. And I'm actually part of Gen Z, and I don't know why I know this, but rehab was a great time for me. There was these recorders in the 90s that if you clicked it, and a lot of there's some movies out there that are new, but they're like based back then. If you watch them, you can see them. The Grinch, the live action Grinch movie definitely has a portrayment of that. A lot of older movies have them in there. You actually had that on your phone, like when you guys had a flip phone. I remember when I had my first flip phone, loved it. I wish I could go back to it. But there was a little button on the side where you could literally sit there and click it, and it would literally record hours of evidence. Like, I used to sit there and record my boss at work because there was a lot of employee abuse that was going down at the place that I was working, so I would record it. And I showed it to the HR department, and they were like, oh, yep, we're gonna get rid of her. Never did, but hey, whatever. It's the thought that counts, right? But from the pictures that I've seen, it was literally like one of those little black, you slip the tape in there and you would push record, and it would literally record the torture and what he was telling these people. He told one woman that the drugs were sodium, which I think sodium fentanyl, which I believe is what it is. And what that does, and as far as I know, I've never done fentanyl. Fentanyl was never one of the drugs that I ever wanted to do, because of how much of a bad rep you got. But I know that a lot of people on my For You page, and I know a lot of my Gen Z viewers have watched Euphoria, and I know that they talked about fentanyl in there. Fentanyl is a extremely strong drug. It literally makes you lose time for so long. You don't know what's going on around you, and you're completely blacked out. All of your senses are numbed. You don't remember anything. That's what I know. I'm not a drug specialist. Do not quote me on that. I've never done fentanyl. So they're literally giving these women heavy doses of this constantly, so that they will forget what's going on if they escape. And even to this day, there's one woman who is still so uncertain about the abuse, but because she doesn't remember anything, I mean, she had nightmares, but just until she started getting contacted by the FBI, she started to remember the mistreatment in increasing detail. Now, she still doesn't remember, as far as I read. She doesn't fully remember everything, because of how much drugs they gave her. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Okay, we're gonna pause for a little bit. I'm gonna kind of explain what's about to go down. I have had the absolute worst allergic reaction for the past week now. I was in and out of the hospital for the past, 4 days ago I went to the hospital, and then 6 days I went to the hospital, or 6 days ago I went to the hospital, so I was in and out. I had a really, really bad allergic reaction to my antibiotics, and I am still literally getting it out of my system, and I'm still having it. So if you guys see me itching, it's because I am still breaking out. I've run out of the steroids that I was prescribed because they were only for a few days. It was supposed to help get it boosted out of my system, and now I just gotta rely on allergy medication. And I am watching one of my friend's children, and so I don't want to be completely loopy while I'm watching her, because she is 3 and she's a toddler, so I'm like, fuck with that. So if you guys see me itching, if you guys see my eyes turn red, if you guys see my face start to break out, that's why. I will be extremely uncomfortable, but I'm going to finish this video. Okay, back to the case. So the trials were... Oh, Okay, so the trials were insane. There was a decision made to try the cases involving Ray's attack in 3 different trials. One for his acts against each victim. So for Cynthia Vigil, Angelica Montano, and for those against Kelly Garrett. Trial 1 resulted in a mistrial and a retrial with a conviction on the retrial on all 12 counts. Sadly, Angelica died before trial 2, but there was no conviction. In trial 3, Ray agreed to a plea bargain in which he was sentenced in 2001 to 224 years in prison for numerous offenses in abduction and sexual torture of 3 young women. His accomplices, his daughter, Miss Jessie Ray. Okay. Miss Jessie Ray was also charged on kidnapping, and she was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison with an additional 5 years to be served on probation, which is not enough. In 1999, accomplice Mr. Dennis Roy Yancey was convicted of the strangulation murder of Marie Parker in Elephant Butte, which Ray recorded in 2010. Yancey was paroled after serving 11 years in prison, but the release was delayed by difficulties in negotiating a plan for residence. 3 months after his release, Yancey was charged with violation of his parole. He has still remained in custody. So we're gonna go kind of into his life. This is gonna take me a second. Okay. So she, in 2000, Sydney accepted a very big plea deal and testified against Mr. Ray. She received 36 years of prison time for her role in the crimes and was scheduled to receive parole in 2017. She was released on July 15th, 2019, and now resides in Hamilton, Montana. She has only served 2 years of her parole in prison, and she is still on parole now. Which I have a very controversial comment about this. I do not agree with anything that happened in this case, especially the fact that she's been released. I don't believe she should have been released at all. I don't think she should have been. I think all of these people should have been locked away, thrown away the key, and never just forgotten. They should have been buried in an underground basement and never seen again. But sadly, I'm not a cop. I'm not a justice person. If I was, that would have happened. If I had the ability to, that would have happened. So if you guys are in Hamilton, Montana, please, please, please don't be stupid. Do not stoop to these guys' level and hurt them, jump them, do anything stupid. Don't do it. If you guys aren't, don't do it. It's so worth it. If the justice court feels like they served their time, then they served their time, and that's not my place. It's definitely not your place to go kill them either. I know how Hamilton people are. Don't be stupid. I don't want to see any of my viewers in jail. I don't want to be covering any of my cases for my Hamilton viewers, okay? I don't. Don't do it. But that's kind of the equivalent of what I got. I know it's not as much as I usually do. I definitely know that this was a longer video than I normally do, so that's kind of cool. Again, if you guys are new to my YouTube channel, please click like, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys do subscribe, click the notification bell. No pressure, you guys don't have to. I don't really cover a variety of things. I literally cover a few things. I will be posting a FBI Most Wanted next week, so tune in for that if you guys want to, if you guys are interested in that. I'm going to start my 1 minute of complete silence for the victims of this case as I do. So we're gonna get that pulled up. If you guys are joining in for my TikTok, I will be posting this video at 7 p.m. tonight. Alright, we're gonna start now. And the moment of silence starts now. Alright guys, thank you guys for joining. I will see you guys next week.